He was bored. He was so bored. So unimaginably bored.
It is such a good night to kiss. It is such a good night to dance. It is such a good night to Scooby-Doo-Doo, 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 love.
He loved doing things. He loved making things. He loved thinking of things. And of thinking about thinking of things. But he was finally bored. His whole life he'd had interests, and those interests turned into passions, and those passions quickly became hobbies. As a boy, these brief obsessions were encouraged. His parents bought him everything he could possibly need so that he'd always be busy. Books, games, instruments, maps. The list was endless, each item more complicated than the next. And now he was bored. His seemingly endless curiosity turned out to have an end after all. He continued to read maps, and learn games, and play instruments, and so on, and so on. But it just wasn't the same. So, as he put his head on his pillow that evening, for the first time in his life, he made a wish. I wish to not be bored. His eyes slowly closed, and when he awoke, at first he assumed he was still asleep. Yes, he was awake, but he could no longer see, and he could no longer smell or taste. He could hear the world around him. He could touch the world around him. But it was no longer the world he knew. That day was difficult. Relearning always is. But for the first time in a long time, he was no longer bored. And he fell asleep that night, tired. His eyes slowly closed, and when he awoke, all his senses had returned. He could see and smell and taste. But he'd gotten back something else as well. Once again, he was bored.
Yeah, that's way better than I expected.